joined by a badass guest, Miss Jennie Unlock Your Potential Lock, Jennie Lok. And yeah, and Jennie is an amazing client of Abundant who is 28. She last year was 30 under 30 for the National Realtor Association magazine, right? Is that the name of the publication? And is just someone who has had an awesome journey in her growth as a sales leader, both in her performance. The last 2 years, she's done over 30 homes and transactions in the Bay Area, one of the hottest markets to be in real estate in terms of transaction value. And this year, she's already done 50 transactions. She also does a lot of real estate investing, and already at the age of 28 has 30 different properties under contract that she manages and in her portfolio. So clearly a badass that we have here today. But beyond all the performance, she's also been on a journey of really getting to know herself at a much deeper level, and shows up as a very authentic leader. And I know as someone who's had a huge impact on a lot of people in our community as just for who she is, and that's where her results come from, is from who she is. So Jennie, welcome to the show today.
Thanks so much for having me, Ben. I'm really excited to share my knowledge and what you've taught me too.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you. So we're going to start with a heart lock for anybody who's watching. You're welcome to join us. And Jennie, let's just go ahead and relax ourselves a bit here, and let's put our hands on our heart. And we're going to close our eyes and just slow down here as we start this interview here. And let's bring our awareness and our focus to our heart, to the area beneath our hands. And I invite all of us to begin to breathe into our heart, breathing deeply, and with each breath, connecting a little bit more to your heart. And now let's activate a genuine sense of appreciation by expressing gratitude for whatever we're sincerely grateful for here in this moment. All right, and then Jennie, whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and come on back. And what came up for you?
I'm so grateful to be healthy and alive, and for my family, and for the opportunity to be here today. And there's just a lot to just be grateful for every single moment. Thank you for the amazing heart lock.
Oh, my pleasure. For me, what came up this morning is just being grateful for California. It's a pretty awesome state. From the outside looking in, there's all sorts of crazy stuff that's being said about California right now. But when you live here, it's a pretty great place to live. And it's beautiful. We got so much nature. The fires are dying down. And, just that I'm a mile from the beach. Say it again.
San Francisco poster here. So
yeah, there you go. Right. Yeah. We're both coming from the Bay here today. I'm a couple blocks from Golden Gate Park, right? Got the giant trees and all that green space. It's a pretty nice place to be. So I'm just grateful for where I live today. So Jennie, just for us to dive in, I'd love for us to, as I do with many guests who are clients, we've had the honor of being able to support on their journey. Just kind of take a trip back to when we first met and when we first got started. And there's a lot of shifts that you've gone through over the last few years to become the leader that you are today. And I'd love for us just to start by talking about kind of what things were like when you started working with Abundant. And it's not that things were bad, like you were performing at a high level. From that sense, you were achieving a lot. But what was missing, and what were the challenges that you were facing that really caused you to say, you know what, like I want to start really taking my growth to another level, and I'm going to say yes to a journey of doing things in a new way that I've never done them before. So I'd love if you could just start by sharing a little bit about that.
Yeah. I remember my first immersion when we met. You told us to put away our phones, and
Mhm.
my phone is my lifeline in my business as a real estate agent, always managing deals and always handling fires, as we call it, and always needing to respond right away. So I was stressing out. I'm like, oh no, like I'm gonna have 200 text messages after this, and people are gonna freak out that I can't, or I'm not responding. And I think that was my life for the year
Mm.
and a half before that, was just always on call, morning to night till like midnight, Monday to Sunday, every single day of the week. There was no day off, and there was working on the weekends. And for the immersion was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which as a realtor, we are working on the weekends and hosting open houses, and that's our busiest time. So to actually take a weekend off was very nerve-wracking. And um, I I felt like I couldn't do it initially, but then I realized that was such a horrible mentality of just giving and giving to technology, to clients, without giving to myself fully. And I realized if I was able to show up for myself fully, give my own time for self-love and self-care, and then be able to provide for my family that love and care, and then I would be able to really show and shine and glow for my clients in a better, stronger way.
Awesome. Which you're doing now. And I remember that time, and you just being like, I don't know where I can like take the time for myself. Like I've got to hit these huge goals. I don't have the time for that. And so there's just been an orientation shift where taking care of yourself is the priority, and abundance is to overflow, right? So to overflow from who you are to your clients, to the people that you mentor, that you lead, and also to the marketplace. With you've done a lot of speaking, and you've been a part of a lot of workshops over the last few years, which you've started to do more of, and really impacting through your teaching and your leadership in different ways. So for me, it's just like, I'm just happy for you because you're happier. It's like you're getting to enjoy life a bit more, and you're still achieving it at really high levels, that's what abundance is. It's having it all, not having a part of that at the expense of everything else. So, Jennie, also there was a shift that began for you around your vision, and that's one of the things that you've spoken to, that like in your time with Abundant, your vision has been something that you've connected to a lot more, and it's also started to change. And I'm curious if you can share a little bit about how your vision has started to come online and evolve as you've been doing your work with Abundant here.
Mhm. Yeah, the vision is definitely around leadership, and initially didn't see myself as like a full-on leader taking on um, agents and hiring someone. So the journey has shifted in that way, where I've been able to hire a full-time assistant and also be leaders to a lot of mentees and junior agents, and help them get promoted to a senior agent, and seeing them hit their goals of spending more time with their family and buying upgrading their old 20-year-old Camry to a nice Jeep. It's and seeing so much confidence rise in other team members has been extremely rewarding. And I think that's where I was so stressed out about like being able to answer all these texts and emails. But if I just help and share the abundance of clients and wealth to other people, they can get a piece of the pie. And something that we've learned together from our good friend James Locklin is like, if you want to go fast, go at it alone. But if you want to go far, then go at it together. So really
Mm.
building a team, having that support, having coaches, having you and everyone support each other in a combined co-creative vision.
Mm. Yeah, I'd like to talk about community in a little bit here, but one more thing I want to ask you about with vision. I think if we go back to where you were in 2018, I think that's when you first became a client. You had like your vision at the time it seemed to be about always like the next deal, like the next transaction, and it was about the vision was just your goals.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? It's like in a lot of achievers, it's like, oh, gotta hit the number. Like the goal is the vision. But that's not a vision, right? That's actually the vehicle to a vision, but people confuse that. They say, oh no, my vision is to hit this number this year. It's like, well, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want your life to look like? What's the impact you want to have? That's not a vision. That's just a number. And so I'm curious from that perspective, how has the way that you look at vision shifted?
Yeah, and the vision has been really focused around my parents and my family. And
Mm-hmm.
they were immigrants from China. They came in the 80s, not having much money and work 14-hour days, 7 days a week. And they're still working like 10, 12-hour days, 6 days a week now. They take some days off, luckily. So my vision has been always to help them be able to retire early and experience a great life. And I think I shifted the vision of like just focusing on the next goal of the greater vision of something bigger. And the last in-person retreat we had a great visualization exercise, and I visualized this beautiful home where there was an open kitchen with an island and big sliding glass doors and a nice backyard with a guest house in the back, and my parents sitting on a table drinking tea and seeing their future grandkids, so my future kids, run around in that backyard. And then that was in March. And then 2 months later, I walk into this house that I'm sitting at right now. It's like, this is a house. And I didn't imagine it to be so soon, where I was able to buy my dream house at the age of 27 years old, just turned 28. And I think all of these things align because I had that further vision of getting my parents out here for my future family, my legacy, to just be closer together since they're out in New York and I'm out here in California.
Mm. By the way, do you want to turn the camera around and show us? Are you in the kitchen right now?
No, I'm not in the kitchen, but I'm in our I'll show you guys. It's a little messy, but this is our 30 under 30.
We won't judge you, Jennie. We won't judge you. We're celebrating with you that you have got your dream house.
Yes. Here is the kitchen.
Nice. You got the amazing backyard too.
Yes, and then the back house is in the ADU right there.
So cool.
Mhm.
Thanks for showing it off. Yeah, and to what you're speaking to, there's being a part of your journey over the last few years, you've focused more on that vision of how important your relationship is to your parents. And because you've been orienting more towards that vision, I've seen you take a lot more time to actually do the things that are aligned with that vision. Before it was like, oh, I need to do all these things so that one day I can take care of my parents. One day I can spend time with them. And the more that you've become aligned with your vision, the more space you've created. Like you took your parents on a trip, all right? That was the first time you've done that. You're spending a month with them at the end of this year, right? Things that, Jennie 2.5 years ago would have been like, I don't have time for that. I got to hit my goals first, right? So what's it been like to experience that shift and to not just like have vision, but because of the way you're orienting towards it, you're actually living it more and not saying one day I want to do these things, but seeing how you can make that your life right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because this was just a matter of 2 months of visualization of this exercise, and then like it's happening so quickly. So I really believe in manifesting and speaking things to existence. So for example, one of my first goals becoming a realtor was becoming 30 under 30. So I would just set it every single day. I'm Jennie Lok and I'm 30 under 30. And it just happened. And I think that's where really believing in it and focusing on the bigger vision, it
Mhm.
will come. If you focus on just the money or just the next deal, then you're not gonna really come from alignment, and your clients will be able to tell that as well too, where what we call it is commission breath. And Mhm.
Yeah, and just to be clear for anybody watching, like manifesting is not like just like, all right, assume the posture, meditate, think it, and it shall be real, right? Like that's not manifesting. And maybe that's a part of it. Like I don't know how that works, but the reality is we all have a vision all the time. It's just sometimes our vision is the things that we don't like, the things that we don't want. It's how hard our life is. Like that's vision. That's what we see. Like we're seeing in front of us the things that are hard, are challenging, or that we don't like. If our vision is not actually consciously directed to be our vision. And it's simple, but it's so important because when your vision is your vision, you look around and you see the opportunities, right? I talk about this as it's basically confirmation bias, right? You see the opportunities in your life to move closer towards your vision. We move towards the things that we think about, talk about, and hold in our mind most, because that becomes the filter through which we see the world. So if our vision is what we currently have, and it's the challenges that are around us, then we're going to see the evidence that supports experiencing more of that. And if our vision is actually a vision and we're committed to holding that, directing our mind and our energy towards that, we're going to see more opportunities in our environment, in the world around us, in our relationships, right? In our network to actually move towards that vision. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And we're all living it, and I'm excited that you're definitely a big part of helping me get to that vision. And a lot of it is around happiness too. I remember one of our retreats in, I believe, Boulder or Colorado, just hiking up a mountain and talking to a fellow member. And it's like, what is the end goal that we're all trying to get? And it's not money, it's not the big house, it's not all these vacations, but it's happiness and being able to spend time with the people that you love.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And so, speaking of talking to somebody on a hike and community,
Mm.
I'm curious to hear from your perspective, how important has it been for your journey, for your growth, for who you've become over the last few years, to have a community that you're doing it with? I think sometimes from the outside looking in, if people see abundant, it's hard to understand like the value of the people in the community and being part of a tribe that's moving in the same direction together. So just what has that been like for you to have those relationships over the last few years?
Mhm. Yeah, so being my age is definitely tough to communicate with a lot of other people and my friends and my peer group who they're not necessarily like at the age of 23, I bought my first house, but no one else at that age was thinking about buying a house. They were thinking about um, the next rave or the next like festival, which I do go to those and it's fun as well too. But it's they were just focused on their 9 to 5 and then just drinking Friday and Saturday, to be honest. And I think once I've shifted that mindset, I realized it was a bit hard to talk to people and connect with my friends in that way of talking about money, talking about leadership, talking about growth, and having these tough conversations. However, having this very like safe container here in Abundant, where other people are going through the same things, and they all are speaking to a higher self and challenging themselves to get to a higher level because um, we have so much potential to unlock. And we're here to just really challenge each other in different ways and learn from mistakes and learn strategies. We've learned amazing strategies on pre-framing, following up, and sales scripts. But also, it's not just the scripts and the strategies, but it's the mindset that we have taken and co-created together.
Awesome. Well, Jenny, I'd like to actually take us in a little bit of a different direction here. And I want to ask you about your childhood a little bit,
Okay.
because you are in California now, but you grew up in Brooklyn, right?
Jenny from the
And
block.
Jenny from the block, and you you've been working hard for a while. So I think it's just a funny story, and it's great for you to share a little bit about how you've like you've been a salesperson at heart for a long time. So tell us about your first experiences in sales.
Mm. Yeah, I was, believe, 11 or 12 years old, and in Brooklyn, people were looking at sneakers and hype beast items. And what I would do is go on eBay and different blog sites and look for sneakers, and bought sneakers, would clean them up and sell them.
Woo!
Made a profit from that, made probably a few like $1,000 profit at the age of like 11, 12 years old. And then that transitioned into a journey in high school, like selling candy. And I would also host a lot of like trips for my peers once we were like juniors and seniors, and rent out places. I remember renting out a house in Atlantic City at the age of 17, and just borrowed my mom's like license and did it. I don't think she knows, but I booked it, and then and got people to come pay for it all, and then I would go on the trip for free because I was a organizer for it. So I was like, oh wow, this is fun. I'm like putting things together. And in college, sold USC. I went to USC and sold tickets for the ticket office, and then sold life insurance. Became the number one intern selling life insurance at the age of 19 years old, and it's a very tough sell, but I was still able to manage to do that. And then got into Oracle tech sales and sold a lot of technology that I didn't understand, but still managed to always beat my quota. And then realized, okay, I want to sell something I truly love and understand, which is real estate.
Mhm. Yeah. And so what do you think the mindset is that you've like had even from a young age in seeing opportunity, right? Because I think that the greatest salespeople
Mhm.
view sales as a business, right? It's like it's not a job, like it's my business, right? Even if you're working for a company, right? You're selling a product, it's like your book of business is your business. And
Mhm.
so what I see in that is that you've always seen possibility and opportunity. And so, if you can be a little bit like self-aware here, what was different about the way that you saw opportunity even from a young age than your peers?
I would say I never did it for the money,
Mhm.
was probably the main thing. It was more so the experiences from being able to share, and like seeing the shoes that were transformed by me using a toothbrush to clean it. Like, and then people being so happy about it, and them being able to have like brag about like their new shoes
Mhm.
that they have that they got online. And providing those fun experiences for my friends in high school. And it was just providing the experience for other people was what brought me joy. And I think I never really thought of it as sales. It was more so, okay, how can I change and provide and make them feel excited. And whatever the product was, even with life insurance, was like get them excited to be able to save for their retirement, save and plan for their future. So there's a lot of things now within a house. It's like just imagining them being able to build wealth, not only just get their house, get into something, but how do I educate them? And I think what it stems back to before that, so it's like providing a great experience, but also the education perspective of it is, I think back even before I was selling shoes, when I was like 5 or 6 years old, I would have a white or chalkboard, a makeshift chalkboard, and have my stuffed animals, and they each had marble notebooks, and I would teach them. So I always had like a teacher mentality.
Hmm.
I think that's where it stems from.
Awesome. I think any salesperson who's watching is like, they've heard that before. Like, oh yeah, I need to educate my clients, or I need to be associated to the value of like, what's the impact we're really making on them through this product or service. And, it's one thing to like read the script around that, but it's a whole other to actually care, right? To like actually give a shit and embody that. And so I'm curious if you could share a little bit about kind of what shifted for you there over the last few years and how you think that relates to you already being at 50 transactions for this year, and the results that you hit.
Right now, it's once we're just giving out of energy of education, and we've been hosting a lot of free webinars and getting a lot of clients to reach out. Before, when you're starting, you're out there hustling, knocking doors, and cold calling, all that. But right now, like I have not cold call or door knock recently in this year, especially during COVID. We can't do that.
Right.
And it's just putting content out there and providing value and attracting people this way and getting so much more referrals and building a business from referrals of just the law of attraction of putting good energy out there.
Awesome. Yeah. And what are some of the other keys that you really think set your performance apart when you look at where you're at? I mean, you have a chance to double, you were 30 under 30 last year, right? And you have a shot at doubling your results.
Mhm.
What are some of the other keys that you think are important to your performance and help set yourself apart?
Some of the keys is definitely having a team and not being so greedy on certain deals. I think, yes, you could get a full commission on certain deals, but you're going to burn yourself out. Like being able to, right now, we have to show every single property, and it's important to be able to teach others too and help them align in your vision and see what their vision is and make a mutual alignment in supporting others growth and their leadership skills to be able to take on some of the business as well too. And believing like if someone can do like 60 to 70% of what you can do, a portion of what you can do, then pass it on. And I think that's where I've really was able to learn to get more of my time back. And something that I didn't believe in before is like, oh, like I want to just have the full deal and I'll take care of the client because I know I can service them better. But once you have like too many, then you're just, it's a disservice to the clients. So I think that's the big shift of gaining that support from other people.
Absolutely. And, speaking of leadership, your leadership journey, it's like just to be clear, it hasn't been easy. And there's been challenges for you along the way over the last few years with leading a team for the first time and having some challenges there and really learning through the process. And so I'm curious if you can share a bit about how your leadership skills have grown over the last few years and also how challenges helped you learn.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was thrown into a sales management position, leading close to 10 agents. And that was my pretty early on. And to be honest, I was not ready for it. I think it was just, and why I wasn't ready for it was I wasn't fully leading myself. And until I learned to lead myself, then I was able to start leading others. And I think that's where sometimes people like always say 10x and drink from a fire hose, just do it and you'll learn. But I honestly got so burnt out and I did not actually perform as well once I like jumped in from an individual contributor to managing 10 people because it was such a big shift and I was still in production as well too. So I think that's where you need to really reflect and see within yourself of what you can manage and be true to yourself so that you can be true to your team members and be true to your clients that I'm not ready. I will be ready for this, but right now I need to take a step back for myself. And I think that's where I did that and went from managing to not managing to just leading like 1 to 2 people, now leading 3 people. And eventually now like I'm ready to take on more and go to the 10. But it's because I wasn't leading myself first.
And let's talk a bit about that, because I think leading yourself means different things to different people. So when you say that you weren't leading yourself and now you are, what do you mean by that?
Mm-hmm. First off is really being true to your like body, of understanding like what your body is capable of, like mentally and physically and emotionally as well too. And I think I was not quite there with my headspace, and it was a tough transition because like there's just so many different types of people out there and different personalities that we're trying to balance, and I couldn't even figure out myself. So once I started figuring out myself, okay, like I am feeling this way, and what is the gift in me going through this struggle? And I always would ask myself this. It's like I'm having a tough relationship right now with this team member, or I'm having this challenge with this client. What is the gift in this? I never complained in a way of like, oh, this is like such a horrible thing, and get I would get upset or like a little saddened, but I'm like, I am meant to be sad at this moment, because if everything was a high and so amazing, then I would not learn, I would not grow. So I would just reflect back on each like communication that went wrong and reflect what's good about it too.
And so if you look back at your leadership when you were a new manager to your leadership today, what's different in how you show up for your people?
I think what's different is also knowing to say no as well too. And I think when you're a manager, you just want to say yes to like, oh, I'll help you, I'll hop on this call, I'll do this. But I think saying no, and it also helps them become leaders, because they're not always asking you for every little detail. They're gonna become leaders more so themselves, because then they will figure it out, and they'll figure out better ways than how you did it too. And that's where giving some of the reins for them versus them being more so a great employee, they're becoming great leaders themselves.
Awesome. Well, Jennie, there's some great stuff that you've shared here today about your journey. And I have one more fun question, and then I'll just open it up for anything else that you want to share here today. The fun question is, when you think back about your different experience, think about our relationship and your experiences with Abundant. What's your high point experience? What's the one memory that sticks out above all the rest?
Remember in Costa Rica, we were in a session. I think we were going over planning for 2020, the year of 2020, or I forgot what year now.
2018, planning for 2019. Yep.
Yes. So planning for 2019, and just a lot of the exercises we did. It was probably the culmination, but I remember just looking out to the sunset and seeing my peripheral vision expand. And I literally saw like things behind me. It's like more of the world. Like, and I thought I was on drugs or something. I know like we didn't have anything, but just like it felt like my vision was like my eyeballs were like in the back of my head too. And I think that's where my eyes opened, and just a great, I still don't know what it was, but it was just a big shift of, okay, I can do a lot more. I can hit these goals. I can buy this amazing house. I can get my family, like go on this trip. And I think the following year, I took my parents on a 4 week trip to Barcelona and Madrid, and paid for it all. And that was one of my favorite times, was just seeing my mom drunk on wine and us just enjoying good time together, eating amazing food. And I still like reflect back, and whenever I think about a happy moment, I always think about that moment.
That's awesome. And it's really cool to hear you say that, because when we take that trip each year, that's the intention. The intention is that it's an opportunity to get out of your life, out of your business, and get altitude on it all. Get above it all so that you can see a more expanded view of what's possible. So you actually like physically had the experience of your view being expanded, and that's pretty cool. So that's a great story, and what a cool trip. That was so much fun. You remember getting when I picked you and Pessy up from the airport, and he hated my hat, and then we like got lost on that back road in the middle of like nowhere, Costa Rica. But then we found that super awesome restaurant like in the middle of Costa Rican farms.
I ate cow tongue and
You
everything.
ate cow tongue, right?
Delicious.
Yeah. Well, that was so fun. Well, Jennie, anything else that you want to share with our audience here today before we wrap this up?
Yeah. I think there's just a lot of fun journeys, and I'm just super excited for the trips. And like, definitely, like, if you're with Abundant or like considering meeting with the team, like, go on one of these trips. They're amazing. They're so much fun, and we're gonna have a transmission in December, so hopefully we'll be able to meet everyone there.
Woo! All right. Well, thank you so much, Jennie. And beyond just being on this show today, I just want to say thank you for being you and saying yes to your journey. Because anybody who's watching today, I'm sure they've learned something, they've been impacted in some way. And I say this all the time, but you know what we teach is theory until it's in practice, and it's individual leaders like you who really make it real. And that's the real inspiration to others, is when they see people living it and making it a reality. So just know that, yes, you've changed your life, and you're changing the trajectory of your family, but also because you continue to say yes to another level of leadership for yourself, you're also setting an example for others. So it means a lot. And thanks for being you.
Thank you so much, Ben. You also created a part of me too. We're all in this journey together.
We sure are. Thanks, Jennie.